نستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه وبركاته عليه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. As we continue in this tremendous treatise, on Wednesday, March the 28th, which is considered today in accordance with the Hijri calendar, which is the 10th of Rajab, 1439 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wasalam, 8:04 p.m. in the evening in accordance with the Gregorian calendar. In regards to what we stopped at, we actually started and inaugurated a new chapter, which is called Bab Man Tabarraka bi Shajarin aw Hajarin aw Nahwihima. The chapter for the one who seeks blessings with a tree or a rock or anything similar to it. As we started this chapter, as you'll find that the great Imam al-Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah, as we said last lesson, this chapter is in regards to what you have seen from all the previous chapters, given a detailed explanation of La ilaha illallah. As we know, the chapters that have preceded it was from the chapters of What Everyone. Last chapter was in regards to Ar-Ruqa wa Tama'im. The last chapter was in regards to What Everyone, in regards to incantations and what? Charms and amulets. The chapter becomes before that, which is in regards to What Everyone. You need a chair? You need a chair? Good. Now, chapter of Lubs al-Khayt wal-Halqa, in regards to what is prohibited from the wearing of those rings, or the wearing of a ring or a string. We talked about the details in regards to that. There's nothing wrong wearing a ring, but if it has in it the meaning that is polytheistic, for lack of better words, meaning in it, then that is when it becomes prohibited. As already we gave the details in this regard, so we'll need to reiterate it. So all of those chapters that have preceded, as we talked about, it's incumbent upon one to really contemplate on those chapters, because polytheism falls into those areas where a lot of the Muslims do not perceive where it emanates from or where one can fall into it, and as a result of ignorance and lack of studying these particular matters, they'll fall into polytheism. We talked about this new chapter. It was the chapter of seeking blessing, which is another meaning of La ilaha illallah. Given another detail, the meaning of La ilaha illallah, Given another detail of the meaning of La ilaha illallah. For another detail in this regard is the new chapter which we inaugurated, we started, where it says the chapter of seeking blessings by a tree or rock or anything similar to it. For verily, ma'ashal ikhwa, as we know, this chapter we already discussed, or the chapters that we already discussed previously, and likewise the chapter which we started, all of it goes back to what is considered the i'tiqad, what is considered the belief system of the individual. So number one, the belief system and the foundation of what makes you a Muslim in the first place. Rectifying that is of the utmost importance. For verily, all these chapters that we talked about previously and the chapter right now, all of it is talking about in regards to purifying one's belief system and its foundation, the affairs of the heart, and rectifying it, and tying it to Allah Ta'ala, and that the affairs of something other than Allah, that Allah created, has the ability to harm you or benefit you some type of way. And then we talked about this is polytheism. This is polytheism. When you think, and we gave numerous examples of this, the belief of the rabbit's foot, the belief of superstitions, and the belief of the different types of satanic beliefs that are widespread amongst the people. Jumping over a broom, or if you hit a broom, then you spit on it, or all the beliefs of if a mirror breaks in front of you while you're looking in it. All these are beliefs in which the Prophet ﷺ came to eradicate totally and tie one's heart into the one who Allah Ta'ala is the ultimate one that has power over what takes place in your life, whether it be generally in the whole world, on this whole existence, or specifically in one's life. We said for one to be connected in regards to, like we said, the previous chapters, this chapter, all of it is talking about what is connection of the heart to it. For verily one's heart initially is supposed to be connected with who, everyone? With Allah Ta'ala. In affairs in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can only do, of repelling of evil in one's life, or protecting one from evil, or shielding him from evil, or allowing some type of mercy or good to touch him in his life. All these are in the hands of Allah Ta'ala. And if that's the case, then one's heart needs to be tied in with him alone. Not to be tied in with something that has no effect on your life and is just mere illusionary or some type of delusion. Or something elusive. Something that's not real. Has no reality to it. Nor does it have any effect over your life whatsoever. We know that Allah Ta'ala is the one who's able to do all these affairs. Allah can change the direction of our lives if He wills, in any which way. No matter what it is or what one is under of oppression or what he's feeling of grief or sadness or what have you. And also likewise, of what one is in, of opulence and wealth, Allah can change that too. Into something detrimental and something you detest. Allah Ta'ala has the ultimate power over these things. That's why if that's the case, then one needs to tie his heart in with Him and Him solely alone. Ta'ala. No one shares in those affairs. Even Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwan, just before we start to get into the initial details of what we're going to discuss again, even in the matter of different things that we see in which we utilize every day, meaning of what we see and what we touch and what was intangible in front of us of food and drink. We know there's different types of food and there's different types of drinks that can harm us. Right, everyone? And there's different types of foods and there's different types of drinks that can what? That benefit us. But however, we know that all these affairs are just the what? At the end of the day, they are just the means. These are just the means. And Allah Ta'ala is the one that creates all of these matters. And if He will, He can snatch the benefit from all of these things, ultimately. And that's the belief of the mu'min. That's in regards to anything that's a reason for benefit of our bodies. Even when we take medicine, we have the i'tiqad and the belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is allowing the medicine to heal you, or to take away that pain, or to remove that sickness. Allah ta'ala is the one that controls these affairs. And if Allah willed, the medicine will have no effect on your body. And it wouldn't be able to do anything. How many stories do we know what happened with Prophet Ibrahim? Well, we know based upon what we see, of course, intangibly, or what we see that's tangible around us, that what? Fire burns. But Allah ta'ala switched it. As it comes in the ayah in the book of Allah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He said to the fire, Kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. Right, everyone? that Allah Ta'ala said to the fire, turn cold and allow Ibrahim to come out of it secure, without any harm. So Allah Ta'ala, of what we see, of what we know can be harmful, Allah if Allah wanted, He could switch it and make it something of not any harm to it, or the opposite. Allah Ta'ala can make something that is a benefit for our bodies, it can be something harmful. And I'm sure that people have noticed this. How many things that we eat, then you find out that you can't eat it, even though in this origin that what? It's something beneficial. A lot of different things out there. Allah Ta'ala can make it the opposite. Because all of these things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created are just the mere means. You understand, everyone? Not to say that we do not avoid things that we know that are detrimental and dangerous. Not to say, listen, if this is a poisonous stream, we're going to eat it and nothing will happen, inshallah, bi'idhnillah. Not to say that we're not saying that. We're saying ultimately Allah is in control of these affairs. That's the point we're trying to establish. Not to say that we do not avoid, or we avoid eating certain things, of course, by all means. But we're trying to teach and stress the point that these affairs ultimately go back to what? To Allah Ta'ala. Even the great Imam Shaykh Salih Fawzan mentions this, and he explains this when he says, مثلا الأكل والشرب من الطيبات هذا فيه النفع ولكن ليس الأكل والشرب هو الذي يخلق النفع وإنما الذي يخلق النفع هو الله تعالى. He says that eating and drinking from those wholesome allow things to eat, those wholesome fresh and those halal and those lawful means of eating, he says, in it is benefit. He says, however, not every food and drink in which Allah Ta'ala, ليس الأكل والشرب هو الذي يخلق النفع. He says the eating and drinking is not that which creates actual benefit. Verily the one who actually creates the benefit is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now listen to the example he goes on to give. Just listen. He says, for example, poison can kill. And we know fire can burn. He says, however, this is not the thing that actually what does it. Because they all created by Allah and they all belong to Allah. And they're just the mere means. And the one who's all able, if he want, he could snatch its properties that it has and flip it. Just as Allah Ta'ala took away heat from the fire in which Ibrahim was tossed in. And it became what? Cold, and he came out free and secure without any harm. Which is an indication to show that these things by itself doesn't harm. Meaning it ultimately goes back to Allah Ta'ala and what? He wants, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And like I said, we all know that it's established. Things that we know based upon what we see, what we know that is harmful, we abstain from eating it. Or we abstain from touching it, no doubt. What this book is trying to tie the heart in with Allah Ta'ala. Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed, at the end of the day, if Allah willed, these things will not harm you. There has been even narrations of the Salaf, in which inshallah, if I have the time, one day I'll give. There is athar from the Salaf where they did drink poison. Something had happened, and the poison had no effect. And they said the dua, Bismillahi alladhi la yadurru ma'a ismihi shay'un fil ardi wa la fis sama' was sami'ul alim. That dua that the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever makes that 3 times in the morning and the evening, nothing will harm him. Nothing. Nothing will harm him. It's been athar of the past that they did take something that was what? Poisonous, made that dua, nothing happened. That's due to the strong i'tiqad and the belief that they had. And in regards to us, where we're very weak in these days and times. But ultimately, they had the strong belief that all of the affairs, whether it be beneficial or harmful, all of it initially goes back to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the affair goes back to Him. But at the same time, we still try to what? We try to eat what we know is beneficial for ourselves and for our health, and we abstain from that which we see also likewise what is harmful. But what we're trying to teach is that ultimately these affairs go back to who? Back to one deity, who is He, Tabarak wa Ta'ala, who is ultimately in control of all these affairs. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So that's what we're mentioning here. But if you look at the chapter, we already talked about, and I gave it a little introduction from last class on Friday. If you look at with the chapter, how it starts off, it says, Bab man tabarraka or talab al-baraka. It says the chapter for the one who seeks tabarruk, what they call tabarraka. Tabarraka in the Arabic language means to seek blessing. As we know, the origin of the word baraka in the Arabic language, it comes from the word birka, with a kasra under the ba. Birka. Birka in the Arabic language is what we know of these days and time as a pond, what they call majma'ul ma, where water gathers. Majma'ul ma is called birka, where water gathers. Why? And when water gathers, it's usually going to be in abundance, especially a pond or river or what have you. It's going to be in abundance, and it's also going to be what, everyone? It's going to also be, in certain cases, it's also, if you look at a pond, it's firm, it's stable. So not only is it a lot of an abundance of what it is, which is water, but it's also what? Thubut. It's also what? It's stable. How do we know? We've seen a pond before. It's still, it's a lot of water in it, and at the same time it's what? It's stable. Right, everyone? Right. So now apply the linguistic meaning on the meaning of it, of what we're speaking about now, barakah. And that's the meaning of barakah. Meaning something that takes place of good, where it's abundant, and it's also been affirmed and it's stable. So that's the meaning of the word barakah. You understand, everyone? That's the meaning of the word barakah. I'll say it again. Barakah is derived from the word birka. Birka is a pond. Is a pond. Birkatun. Birkatun is, as we know in the Arabic language, is majma'ul ma. It's where water accumulates and it gathers until it becomes an abundance, and it's also what? It's also stable in a particular place. One looks at a pond, there's a lot of water in it, and it's also what, everyone? It's also what? It's also stable. It doesn't move. Right. That's the same thing in regards to the word barakah. To the word what? Barakah. Let me turn this off. The word barakah is what takes place of good, of something having good. And it's in abundance. It's in abundance, and it's also what? It's also stable. It's also firm in that thing. Also, we know that barakah can be something by an affair of the kitab and sunnah, in which Allah Ta'ala has told and informed that it has barakah in it. From that is what? The recitation of the Quran. Or the Quran itself. For the one who clings to its guidance, then the one will receive barakah and blessing as far as being guided properly, and being upon uprightness, and being enlightened, in which you will be guided to the correct path, which is a type of what? Barakah. So that's something that is what? Something from the kitab, or an affair from the kitab and sunnah, which is a type of barakah. So that's the first category. Number one, the category of what we know, what is of the kitab and the sunnah, by amrin shar'i, by an affair that has been legislated, of what Allah has informed that it has barakah in it. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Those things that have barakah in it, from that is the Quran itself, of the one who clings to its guidance. Then he will receive the barakah of al-huda, the barakah of being rightly guided, and also the barakah of being upon uprightness, and being upon what will lead him ultimately to paradise. That's barakah, isn't it? Isn't that barakah or is it not barakah? J. And also likewise, what will come as a result of it, a lot of other rewards he will attain by clinging to his guidance. A lot of numerous examples we could give in this particular category. Too many to be enumerated, counted. Another example of this is the recitation of the Quran. So the recitation of the Quran likewise is barakah. What is the dalil for this? The dalil for this, as we know, what the Prophet ﷺ said, where Allah Ta'ala says in his book, Kitabun anzalnahu ilayka mubarakan liyadabbaru ayateh wa liyatadhakkara ulul albab. The Allah Ta'ala says in Surah As-Sad, He says, Kitabun anzalnahu ilayka mubarakun liyadabbaru ayatihi wa liyatadhakkara ulul albab. He says, a book we have sent down to you. Notice that Allah Ta'ala described this book as what? Mubarak. Kitabun anzalnahu ilayka mubarakun. Mubarak. Barakah. Liyadabbaru ayatih. The book we have sent down to you is Mubarak. Is blessed. Has barakah. Also, likewise, the recitation of the Quran, for example. The recitation of the Quran also likewise is what, everyone? Barakah. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned in his authentic hadith that he said that reading the harf of the Quran is what? Bi-asharati hasanat. The recitation of the Quran is by what? Reading just one harf, one letter of it, then one will receive, and it will be written down for him 10 good deeds. Which is also a type of what? Barakah. It's also a type of blessing and also a type of barakah. Also likewise, Allah Ta'ala also described another affair from the first category, for example, the Kaaba. And praying in Al-Haram al-Makki. Praying in Al-Haram al-Makki. Praying in Mecca, where the Masjid al-Haram, where the Masjid al-Haram is in Mecca. Where we know when one will praise in the masjid that he will also what? He will attain 100,000 salah. The reward of him praying one salah in the al-Haram al-Makki, he will receive 100,000. 100,000 salah. And we know from what is blessed is al-Ka'batul Musharrafa. The Kaaba itself is also what? We know is blessed. That Allah Ta'ala says in this book, Inna awwalu baytin wudi'a lin-nasi bi Bakkata mubarakan. That Allah Ta'ala says in this book, He said that the first house that was established for the people of worship, He says, was in Bakka, meaning Mecca. Notice Allah Ta'ala described it as what? Mubarak. Having barakah. Inna awla baytin wudi'a lin-nas. Nudi'a lin-nas. Notice Allah Ta'ala says, bi Bakkata mubarakah. So it said, the first house, which is described in the Kaaba. And also the prophets and the messengers. Them in themselves also have barakah from the prophets and the messengers, especially the Prophet ﷺ. As we know, he was the only one that they used to what? Seek barakah from, as far as with his hair and from his body and his saliva. That's it. No one else after him. As that was only specifically, exclusively for him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And for all the other prophets and messengers, not for anyone else after them. As Allah Ta'ala described Prophet Isa ibn Maryam, Jesus the son of Mary, what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about him? That Isa ibn Maryam said, what did he say? وَجَعَلَنِي مُبَارَكًا أَيْنَمَا كُنْتَ وَأَوْصَانِي بِالصَّلَاةِ مَا دُمْتُ حَيًّا وَبَرًّا بِوَالِدَتِي وَلَمْ أَكُنْ جَبَّارًا شَقِيًّا وَسَلَامٌ يَوْمَ عَلَيَّ وَسَلَامٌ عَلَيَّ يَوْمَ وُلِدْتُ وَيَوْمَ أَمُوتُ وَيَوْمَ أُبْعَثُ حَيًّا. ذلك عيسى بن مريم قول الحق الذي فيه يمترون. So Allah Ta'ala says Surah Maryam. That Isa ibn Maryam said that Allah made me Mubarak. No matter where I am. وجعلني مباركا أينما كنت فأوصاني بالصلاة والزكاة ما دمت حيا وبرا بوالدتي ولم أكن جبارا عصيا. I think it's somebody check it. I think it's جبارا عصيا. والسلام علي يوم ولدت ويوم أموت ويوم أبعث حيا. Just to check it for me, one is either عصيا or شقيا, is one of the two. طيب. For when we say Ya Ma'ash al-Ikhwa, for these are affairs in which Allah Ta'ala has made clearly that they have what? Barakah. And there's other examples of that. It's in Surah Maryam. It's in the third page, Surah Maryam. طيب. Then you have that which is from affairs that have barakah in it, which is what, everyone? Affairs that have barakah in it, which is what we see and what is tangible. For example, a person teaching the people ilm, disseminate knowledge, they're calling the people to the proper knowledge and teaching them. This is also likewise in the barakah. Calling to the correct da'wah, to the correct calling, spreading it. This is also part of what? Of what we just mentioned now, of the second category. طيب. Then you have barakah, in which you'll find that there's other than those from the creation who claim that it has barakah. But in actuality, they're just mere illusions. And there's not no barakah in it whatsoever. Of what you see from a lot of the deviant sects from the Muslimun in these days and times, what they say of what their so-called sheikh, that you touch him, if you touch his hair, or other affairs in which you'll find, if the person is not upon the proper belief system in which the Prophet ﷺ was upon, or the Sahaba were upon, and they say that this is, or this specific person has barakah with him, and he's on something else contradictory and totally opposing what they have, then this is just a mere illusion of what they're claiming. Rather, a person who's on something else, of what other than the message of Allah and the Sahaba were upon, then what? Then we know that it's something that's satanic. And it's not something that is what? Barakah in actuality. You'll find, like we said, Ya Ma'ash al-Ikhwan, like for example, even shaitan will be involved in these type of affairs. To the point where he'll have outward effect in which people can see. And people will be able to what? Totally experience it and see it. Where shaitan will even service this particular sheikh. And usually it's from the so-called Mashayikh al-Turuq al-Sufiyah. From those who practice the ways of what they call mysticism, from the deviant sect called the Sufiyah. Even to the point where you'll find weird stories, where even Shaykh al-Islam, as we'll mention inshaAllah, where some of them will even perform Hajj, so-called, and then all of a sudden they will appear in their own country or city. They'll stand on Arafah and then appear in their own city or appear in their own country. In which you'll find that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah had mentioned this regard, which I'm going to read in a couple of seconds. We said in this regard that the shaitan will service a person if he has now done in a manner that will what? Release him or rip apart what he has of what is correct guidance and embark upon what necessitates he left the fold of Islam. For example, you'll find that some of those Mashayikh al-Turuq, you find the ayah. I thought you was looking for the ayah. What does it say? وَلَمْ أَكُنْ جَبَّارًا الشَّقِيَّ جيد. So you'll find from those Sufis, from their so-called Mashayikh al-Turuq al-Sufiyah, you'll find what they do is a lot of strange things. From them, as they say, once they reach the level of course, the ultimate goal is to be like the mulhid, or the person's name was Ibn al-Arabi, At-Ta'i. All of them initially, their goal is to be like him. But at any rate, some of them they will go to the extremes and say, now I don't have to pray, I don't have to fast because I've reached the level of what? I've reached the level of surety, of course. Jayyid. Tayyib. Shaitan now has allowed this man to be deceived and be deluded, and now he's being fooled to the point where he is now what? Left the fold of Islam and embarked upon what Shaitan wanted him to fall into. Here in this instance, Shaitan now will service you. From those who practice magic and those who practice these wicked types of ideologies, Shaitan will now service you. A person, for example, that does these wicked, evil type of things, such as the practices of weird magic, drawing circles on the ground, doing certain nasty, disgusting, repulsive things with little children, taking the Quran and throwing it in the toilet, anything that will what? Make the shaitan happy by a person doing something that's extremely deep kufr of disbelief. In this instance, shaitan will what? Service you. Even those who claim that they're what? Muslims in the names of Sufiya. And those who are what we know as, from those magicians, whether they be from what we know those famous magicians, and from them is, what's his name? What's his name again? David Copperfield. And all those other people who are involved in those different types of what? Satanic tricks and illusionary satanic practices. In which you'll find that even Shaykh the Imam al-Shafi'i, Muhammad al-Idris, and the Imam al-Shafi'i, that he said in this regard, that a person who's not upon the proper aqidah, and you see weird things that he's doing, that is going against the norm of what we see. Now listen to what he says. Listen to this poetry. He said, إِذَا رَأَيْتَ الرَّجُلِ يَطِيرُ فَوْقَ مَاءِ الْبَحْرِ يَسِيرُ وَلَمْ يَقِفْ عِنْدَ حُدُودِ الشَّرْعِ فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ مُسْتَدْرَجٌ بِدْعِ. Listen to what he said in his poetry. He says, if you see a man, إِذَا رَأَيْتَ الرَّجُلِ يَطِيرُ, if you see a man flying in the air, فَوْقَ مَاءِ الْبَحْرِ يَسِيرُ, and he's traveling and walking above water, but he didn't stop at the boundaries of what Allah has set, with the proper belief system, the proper boundaries, upholding what Allah and His Messenger commanded, and to staying with what Allah, His Messenger prohibited, know that he's mustadrajun bid'i. Know that Allah is setting him up for a trap. He's a person upon bid'ah. So it's not the fact that you what? Just see a person doing things out of the ordinary to make you think he's somebody that's special. The mere fact is that you look inside his belief system, make sure it's what? It's correct. And also likewise, stopping at the boundaries that Allah Ta'ala has set in order to know what's the difference between the awliya ar-Rahman or the awliya al-Shaitan. As even Shaykh al-Islam have authored a book in this whole topic. The name of the book is Al-Furqan Bayna awliya ar-Rahman wa awliya al-Shaitan. He authored the whole book, Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, in this particular regard, to how you can distinguish the difference between who's from the awliya of Allah and the awliya of the Shaitan. The difference between who's from the wali, or those who are close to Allah, and who are from the people of Allah and the friends of Allah and those who are close to Allah. Then also having that criteria to distinguish between who's who. And what they call the awliya al-Shaitan, from those who are the friends and those who are close to Shaitan himself. And he brings different examples of this, and from that is what we just said. In regards to those who are from the awliya ar-Rahman, who are upon the proper aqidah, then certain things can happen that is out of the ordinary, of course, of what took place even with the Sahaba, and what took place with some of the Tabi'een, of some of them who did actually walk above water. It did happen. Yes, it did. And also what happened with some of the Sahaba, what took place of affairs that were very strange and unordinary. All from the barakah of following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Not from the barakah because of themselves, the barakah came from them following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And which happened with some of the salaf, which has been established and known. However, that type of barakah only takes place from what? From number one, correcting his belief system, being upon proper guidance, being upon uprightness, and like we said before, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, Also likewise, that person makes sure that he's restricting what they call tajdeed al-mutaba'ah, restricting himself by purifying him following the Prophet ﷺ. In which, like we talked about, is numerous examples of this, in which maybe inshallah, if we have time, we could talk about some of the things that happened with the Salaf, where they did walk above water. Something did happen. Where they did, some of them walked above water, and when they was going to jihad, and they had no boat to get across so they can what? Indulge in the battle. Until they make dua, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by His permission, allowed them to walk over top of the water. طيب. In which Shaykh al-Islam mentioned, which is the opposite, opposing meaning, is like what happened with the Sufiya. Listen to what he even said in this regard. He says, وَمِنْ ذَلِكَ مَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ عَلَى يَدِ شَيْخِ الْإِسْلَامِ تَيْمِيَّةٍ مِنَ الْبَرَكَةِ. And he even talks about Shaykh al-Islam himself. He says, and from that is what Allah Ta'ala allowed to happen at the hands of Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, of barakah, in which the people to this day have still benefit from during his life and after his death. He says, as far as that which is opposing the kitab and sunnah, and those who calls to not to absolute falsehood, he said that their barakah or their blessing is just mere what? Illusionary, mawhuma, in which the shaitan that he puts for him, in which he aids him upon his falsehood, so the people can what? Believe it, and the people can be deceived by it. He says, and that is an example of that which happens for some of them. Now listen to the story that he gives. Now listen to what it says. Even Shaykh Uthaymeen gives the story. He said, with some of them you'll find, he said that they stop with the people in Yom Arafah and Hajj. This is from the different stories, the weird stories that take place. He said, then they will stop on Arafah, then all of a sudden they will go to their what? So-called countries, and their home, and then they will slaughter with their people in the Eid. Shaykh al-Islam had mentioned and said that the shayateen will carry them. He said the shayateen can carry them, in which the people will be deceived by them. He says, well, and also at the same time, which takes place from them is something that opposes what Allah has commanded. He says, from that is that they didn't complete Hajj. So they didn't even complete Hajj. So how you wali of Allah ain't even complete Hajj? You stand on Arafah, there's other pillars to Hajj you have to complete. He said from them, he said these type of matters were emanated from them as them, like we said, mukhalafat. From them is what everyone, them not completing Hajj. And also likewise they passing by the miqat. The miqat is the place where you assume the state of ihram. He said they pass by it and then even make ihram on top of that. So all these affairs is to show that in actuality they're not from the awliya of Allah, they're from the awliya of shaitan. In order for the people to be what? Tricked by, beguiled by, deceived by. So they could be what? Misguided. Also likewise we know, in which we'll talk about inshallah, also the deception of people with decorated tongues, which are many these days, plentiful. So many people that have decorated speech, in which if the Muslim does not protect himself, he could be easily misguided and fooled by these type of people, because they're many in number now. Just to sum up everything in regards to what? Al-Barakah. Notice that the great Imam that he goes on to say, I think it's time for the Adhan. Is it time for the Adhan yet? EB, you want to call it? Tafadhal, Amir. I like your loud, boisterous voice anyway. It's loud. You're loud. You know, I don't like the melodious adhan, as long as it's just loud and boisterous. That's what I like. It doesn't have to be beautiful. Allah, it don't have to do all that. It's just loud. It's Allahu Akbar. Yes, I like that. Yes. See? Loud. I like that. Nice. So. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمد الصيف اللهم رب هذه. طيب. For now, if you go back to your books in which the great Imam that he goes on to say that seeking blessing with a rock or a tree, number one, it says in the chapter, if you look in it, what does it say, everyone? Whoever seeks blessing with a what? A tree. I'm sorry, it wasn't a rock. A tree. As we know, one of the proper examples of what took place, where the tree in which you'll find during the time of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, was called the Shajaratul Ridwan, the tree of Ridwan. Ridwan was where we know where the Prophet ﷺ had made what they called was given the bay'ah, the pledge of allegiance under that tree before the fitna of what they call the fitna of what took place with astaghfirullah to be lay, right before the Fath of Mecca. It was right before it. Oh man, when he said that Uthman, that he thought that Uthman bin Affan was killed. Oh, astaghfirullah to be lay. But anyway, just going back to Surah Al-Nasr in regards to Surah Al-Fatih, Surah Al-Fatih. Well, Allah Ta'ala says in His book about what happened with the Sahaba, of course, لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ يُبَايِعُونَكَ تَحْتَ الشَّجَرَةِ فَعَلِمَ مَا فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. The ayah where Allah Ta'ala talked about when the Sahaba had gave the bay'ah, the pledging allegiance to the Prophet ﷺ under the tree called Bay'at al-Ridwan, the tree of Ridwan. When they gave the pledge of allegiance to the Prophet ﷺ, that tree, after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, the people started to now thought it was something what? Special about it. In which Umar al-Khattab, as we know, Faruq, the one who's Faruq, the one who could distinguish between truth and falsehood, knew that Shaitan was going to try to utilize that tree as a way to what? Get the people to fall into polytheism. So when he's seen that and he sensed that, radiallahu anhu arda, that now that the people eventually would start taking it as a place of worship, and that the tree would now maybe even flip to becoming an idol of worship, he ordered that it be cut down. And also likewise, certain places he also erased where people wouldn't actually know where the place would be. All of that in order to protect the people's monotheism and the worship, to shield them and protect them from not falling into what? Polytheism. So that tree that Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu noticed, even though it was a tree, it didn't have any effect on anything. It was just a tree that which took place beside it, something tremendous, an affair that was tremendous. But there was nothing special about it. It didn't have any effect on anything. It had no barakah in it, nothing. There was nothing special about it other than what? That tremendous affair took place, what they call Bay'at al-Ridwan, where they gave the pledge of allegiance to the Prophet ﷺ in that particular place, no more, no less. And despite of that, Umar al-Khattab knew that what? Shaitan would try to what? Utilize it in order to now gradually set up the people to fall inside of the trick of Shaitan, which is the what? Allow them to fall into polytheism. So then he commanded that the tree be cut. So that tree was cut. And likewise, which we're going to talk about, we started on it last lesson. But inshallah, we'll talk about a little bit about it today, inshallah. But at any rate, notice that Umar al-Khattab had commanded that the tree be cut, out of fear that what? people will start to now take it as a place to seek blessing, or touching it, or rubbing it, or feeling it, or even grabbing dirt and taking it and rubbing themselves with it. All these different type of affairs which are what? Prohibited. So like we talked about before, this is an example of which you'll find that the Sahaba, and from them, from the greatest of them was Al-Khattab al-Faruq, cut the tree down. And also likewise, if you look in your books, it says what? It says As-Sakhr al-Hajar, a rock. You'll find that rock, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, likewise, during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, or which you'll find, in Bayt al-Maqdis, which is in Bayt al-Laham, which is in Quds, There is a particular rock in Bayt al-Maqdis where you do find that people or they actually go around to this rock and they try to seek blessing by it. And it's in Palestine. It's in Palestine where we know, in Jerusalem now, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to return it back to the Muslims. But in Jerusalem, where Bayt al-Maqdis, we know that the actual masjid, which is masjid in what? Not the three masajid that we travel to is what, everyone? Mecca and Medina, what's the third? Masjid al-Aqsa, Jayyid. There's a particular rock there, in which you'll find that the people even try to rub, in which they also try to touch, seek a barakah from it. Also, that's the type of affair which has no barakah in it. And another thing that's also, which a lot of people don't realize, is even the black stone around the Kaaba. The person now, even when he wants to touch the black stone, of which one person, when he touches it, you'll find that the people go to the extremes to the point where they try to rub their whole bodies with it. They'll try to rub, yes, you'll see it. They'll punch over it. They'll rub their bodies with it. They'll try to rub all of their whole body on it to the end of it. You understand, everyone? The only thing that's been legislated is to what? Touch it or kiss it. Or kiss it. The reason why a person does that is out of worship of Allah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. Because the Prophet ﷺ did it, and that's the only reason why we do it. Out of worship of Allah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. You understand, everyone? Not for the mere fact that that one once tried to now seek blessing by it, but he rubs his whole body on it, bangs his head, and he tries to even touch it, kiss, rub it over his face. You'll see so many strange things that the Muslims do, to the point, like you said, all of that is due to lack of knowledge. And all just out of mere taqleed, just merely blind following. And the mere blind follow that we're talking about is the dispraiseworthy blind following. You understand, everyone? And it's the reason why I'm saying dispraiseworthy blind following. For that, what we say in this regard, a taqleed al-a'ma, that which is blindly blind following a person or people or something they just grew up with without attaining any type of clarity of what they were doing to know whether or not it's wrong or not. And we even see here into the masjid, we see a lot of the Muslims, due to their lack of education, due to their lack of knowledge of doing certain practices, that they don't realize that it's incorrect. From that is making dua after the salat. Make a dua as soon as you salam out. And I'm still to this one. The reason why they do that, you know why? Because there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, it said that when the time of which the dua is accepted, it said, fi dubri kulli salah, at the end of every salah. Not knowing that the meaning of it is the end of the prayer itself while you're still in it. Not when you salam out. You know why? Because they didn't attain the proper explanation of it. They only heard the hadith, ran with it. Not attaining the proper understanding of it. You understand? Because when you're in the salat and you're about to you make it your tashahhud and you're making your dua at the end of the salat, that's the time more than likely it's going to be accepted. And when you make sujood, it's more than likely it's going to be accepted. These are the places where it's going to be. Now you salam down, you're not in the time where it's not where dua more than likely is going to be accepted anymore. It's more than likely going to be accepted while you're in the prayer, not when you salam down. So now you'll find as soon as people salam out, they make a dua. All this is due to what? Lack of knowledge. Then another thing what they'll do, they add on to that from after making dua, swiping the face on top of that. You understand? All these are practices in which you'll find that none of the Sahaba used to what? None of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ used to do. You never found that they used to make dua after the salah, as soon as they salam out, raise their hands and make a dua. There's no athar you'll find where the Sahaba have actually what? Commanded to do this, and that they've seen the Prophet ﷺ do this. Like we talked about, when you want to now enlighten someone and teach them and redirect them, the proper way to do it. When a person says, a lot of majority of the common folk for the Muslims now think that Islam is saying La ilaha illallah, you can do anything you want, no matter if it nullifies it, you can do any affair you feel like it, and that the religion is a bunch of khilaf. It's khilaf. That's the first thing you're going to say out of your mouth. Yeah, khilaf. As soon as you say you have to grow your beard, khilaf. Khilaf, khilaf, khilaf. The proper way you indulge in that, this is how you can grab someone's attention. Quick. This is how you do something very quickly. Ask them, why do we pray Fajr 2 rakat? Why can't we don't say it's no khilaf? Why is it can't you say everything's khilaf, everything's khilaf, everything's khilaf? Tayyib. Why do we pray Fajr 2 rakat? And we stick to that. Now right now, if I pray Fajr 3 rakat, 4 rakat, what will everybody think of the masjid of me? You've lost your mind. You ask them now, why do we pray Dhuhr 4 rakat? This is something simple that you could grab their minds with. Why do we pray Dhuhr silent? Right now, if I pray Dhuhr loud, and I just told you, Yahi, it's khilaf. Huh? That's how you grab their attention. Why is it now I pray also silent? Why can't I just pray aloud? Why can't I pray also 2 rakats? I feel that that's nice. I feel that that's more comfortable for my schedule for job. And I feel that this is more suitable for me. And I feel like I can do this, and what's wrong with that? I'm worshiping Allah. It's worship. This is what you ask the common Muslim. Because every common Muslim, even from the deviant that tends the masajid are not teaching them correctly, they are all affirm this. There's no masajid right now that if you went to them, that masjid right now and prayed Fajr there, and they prayed Fajr silent, 4 rakats, except they will know that you've lost your mind. Am I right or wrong? So this is how you grab their attention. Why do we pray Fajr? Why is it that we stick into this and we're not deviating from that? It's because we know this is a proper text. So in this affair of what we're talking about now, apply it to the rest of the religion. You understand? This is the reason why we say the dua of the Prophet ﷺ after the salat, the Prophet ﷺ never did that. Nor did he command the ummah to do that. And the meaning of the hadith of Mu'adh bin Jabal, the end of every salah is talked about at the end of the prayer. Meaning, you didn't salam out yet. You reached the end of it. You understand? The end of the prayer. The only thing that's been legislated of those supplications is the supplications of what the Prophet ﷺ told us to say after we salam out. That's it. You understand, everyone? What the Prophet ﷺ has done after he salamed out is clearly written down, and it's what? Clear. Of what type of supplication to what? Or remembrance to make after the salah. But to raise your hands now and to now make your own personal dua, that has not been what? Has not been narrated. Jayyid. And the reason why you tell them that is because you say and use as an evidence to say the Prophet ﷺ did not do that, nor did the Sahaba. And this is the reason why we do not do that. That's the reason. And this is only for rectification of your own religion and for preservation of yourself. But I'm just a mere person trying to advise, no more, no less. طيب. So in this regard, ya ma'ashal ikhwan, we'll stop here because we have to pray about 5 minutes. I think we've got to put it. Matter of fact, the clock just went off. طيب, matter of fact, we'll stop here. Stop here and connect. We'll finish further. 5 more minutes. Okay. 2 alarms. طيب. So in regards to what's pertaining to now, the tree, the rock. As far as the black stone is merely for what? just to kiss it out of worship of Allah. You understand, everyone? Due to the fact that Umar al-Khattab, as we know the other way he said, Ya Rasul, he says, أعرف أنك. Now listen to this other Umar al-Khattab. This is very, 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 very important, EB. Listen to this dua. What the Prophet, what Umar al-Khattab said to the tree, to the rock. I said to the tree, to the rock. He said to the black stone. He said, أعرف أنك حجر لا تضر ولا تنفع. ولولا أني رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقبلك ما قبلتك. What did Umar al-Khattab say? He says, I know that you're just a rock. You can't bring any harm to me, nor can you bring any what? Benefit to me. If it wasn't the fact that I seen that the Prophet ﷺ kissed you, I would not have kissed you. So, notice that Umar al-Khattab restricted himself to what? Tajdeed al-mutaba'ah. Restricted himself to following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, which he knew in it is what? Success. Success, and one being what? Also being attaining prosperity. And he knew that these were what? This is what was going to be successful. But at the same time, he knew that what? This rock has no what? No power, no authority, nothing. It's just a mere way of what? Worshiping Allah. That's it. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So that's the reason why you'll find that the great Imam, he said, to seek blessing by these affairs, a tree, rock, or anything similar to it. What do you mean anything similar to it? What does he mean by that? Of what even now that is indulged in, from grave worshiping, and also from now rubbing on particular houses or domes or raised structures or anything similar to that. Similar to how you'll find that even when the people go to Al-Madinah, and you'll find that they go to the actual dwelling place or the dwelling quarters of Aisha, to the point where they even start to see them rubbing their bodies against the gate, running their bodies against the walls, rubbing their bodies against different parts and different areas of the grave of the Prophet ﷺ. Of course we know the grave is in, but he has that blockade around it. So nobody can do anything to get into it. It's a big giant blockade. But you'll find that people actually start to come to it, and they'll even whisper, you tim, as they say in Arabic, rubbing their bodies, closing their eyes, taking their bodies and rubbing up against it, taking the dirt and rubbing the walls and rubbing their bodies and rubbing their faces with it. This is what is prohibited. You understand? Even to the point where even some of them were even trying to make dua to the Prophet ﷺ, asking the Prophet ﷺ to make a dua to, O Messenger of Allah, save me from the day of resurrection. Polytheism. You understand? Right at the grave of the Prophet ﷺ. Not realizing that the Prophet ﷺ would be angry if you see him doing this. Extremely. Just it comes as a hadith of what we're about to read on, that when the Sahaba asked them, which is in your books is going to come, what did the Prophet ﷺ say? And they didn't even do it. They just asked. What about the person who actually does it? Here in the hadith that's going to come, Ghazwat Hunayn, they just mere requested. They didn't do it. And the Prophet ﷺ became very upset. Of which we're going to talk about next class, inshallah. You understand, everyone? Is it clear? So that's the removal of why the great Imam has said it is impermissible or from polytheism is to seek blessing with a rock or a tree or anything similar to it. So it's not just a rock or a tree. It could be a grave, it could be dirt, it could be a specific place, or what we see, and I've given numerous examples of what we talked about, what happened in Egypt, of what we know, where all that, to the point where graves, now it's so bad now. What the Prophet ﷺ said, that anger will, the anger of Allah became wow, that the anger of Allah Ta'ala ishtad, became severe. The anger of Allah became very, very severe over people who took the graves of their prophets as masajid, as places of worship. What about now? You'll find, and like we said in Egypt, where people now take graves as worship as a yearly Eid to go to, in which money is gathered for them, huge amounts of money, which people spend. And they also slaughter for these people who are dead. Slaughter for the dead people. And not only do they do that, they also increase, like we said for the last lesson, they also add on something else to it, which is to make tawaf. The Prophet ﷺ said, اشتد غضب الله على قوم اتخذوا قبور أنبيائهم مساجد. It says it clearly in the hadith. He said that the anger of Allah became severe upon the people who took the graves of their prophets as what? Masajid. Notice the Prophet ﷺ said, اشتد غضب الله. That Allah Ta'ala, his anger became severe. Who took the graves of their prophets as what? Masajid, places of worship. So now what about the Muslims now? That has Eid, they slaughter to it, make tawaf around it. What do you think that is going to happen to the Muslims if they do this? You really think that Allah is now going to allow them to be removed from the turmoil that they're in and the humiliation? When you're committing the most despicable of all sins that any human being can commit and the most oppressive of all sins. That will, as a result of it, if you die upon it, you'll be in hellfire forever. You'll never come out. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. May Allah allow us to die a good ending. But if this is the case, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, how is the Muslims going to now what? Be removed and taken out of the state that they're in, and this is the type of sins they're committing. And the reason why Allah and His Messenger have what? Told us in these particular narrations, not for us just to read it, it's for us to avoid it. To say what? That if you fall into this can be you too. You understand, everyone? The reason why these stories of the prophets and the messengers was given what happened to their people in the past is for us to take a what? To take an exhortation and a lesson for us not to do it. And if you do it, this can be your what? This can be the end result for you. Is it clear, everyone? جيد. So stop here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت استغفرك واتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Anything else about the lesson? Anyone? تفضل. Say it again. Oh, the second one was the second one is something that's just hissi, something that's tangible, that has barakah in it.